Talk's international editor. How are you?
I'm wondering why you're so up for it, and I reckon it's just because there's so much to be annoyed about.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, there is, but I have to tell you something. I don't want to go into too much detail because I'll get into trouble. Somebody today said, "Oh, you don't want to deal with him. He's too right wing." And I thought to myself, hold on a minute, right? I have slagged the Tory government off repeatedly. I have said all sorts of things about all sorts of people. But I'll start right with that text, right, that we've just had, okay? Today, where's my piece of paper? Just listen to the world we live in. A paedophile convicted of sexually assaulting his own stepdaughter has been allowed to remain in the UK as deporting him, according to the ECHR, Isabel, would breach his right to a family life. I honestly have to tell you, if you want to be called right-wing, fair enough. This sums up why this country's on its arse. I don't understand this at all. Explain how that can ever be the case. Don't get it.
Do you know what? I could just sit here and be completely silent, because what the hell is there to say to that? It is utterly insane, isn't it? It's completely topsy-turvy. There is no justification that I can see. And if there is some law that supports that, then that law we need to have nothing to do with that law.
Well, it's the ECHR, apparently. Apparently, if you try and deport this man, he'll grab a human rights law or a bedwetting representative who will say, you're denying him. It's for me, and I said it earlier, Isabel, it's a bit like the Isla Bryson thing. You're going to put a bloke in a pair of leggings who's raped 2 women, and you can see his packed lunch, by the way. You're going to put him in a female prison, and you're going to say to a paedophile who's sexually abused, I shouldn't say rape, sexually abused his own stepdaughter, stay in the family. We're worried about your rights. I honestly begin to fear for what's rational and what's not in this country, and I'm not going over the top. That's just ludicrous. Ludicrous.
Of course it's ludicrous. And, you know, if I were in charge, I would take my chances and deport that guy as far away as he could possibly get. And at least that would make him go away for a while. You know, we've got to stop kind of just cravenly buckling to these ridiculous rulings. There comes a point where you have to test them and just see if the sky falls in. And, you know, I very much doubt it would. And we'd be rid of one more person that we don't want in this country, because, you know, that kind of crime, there should be just no bandwidth for it whatsoever.
I just spoke to somebody in America, Jim Jatras. We're talking about Trump and that video that you might have seen about Trump saying on day one, there'll be elite forces removing illegals from America. It doesn't care what it costs. If they ever come back, they'll get 10 years non-parole. And he was going, yeah, I mean, the sentiment's great, but it'll be the same in America as England. There will be lefty lawyers and there'll be systems and there'll be human rights abuse and all those sorts of things. I just think that in the guise of so much, we've lost, weirdly, on the station here, we've lost common sense. If you're allowing, in a very calm way, a paedophile who's raped or sexually abused his own stepdaughter to stay in the family home for fear of contravening his human rights, I think we've gone mad. I'll tell you another thing today I wanted to talk to you about. Starmer, who last week said, we must be very careful, you know, not to stop people being able to say what they think. Now he's saying we should be prosecuting people who say horrible things. Today he says that police forces should prioritise fighting crime, which matters most to their communities, rather than spending public money on investigations involving hurt feelings, Sir Starmer said. He said the Prime Minister said forces will be held to account for their decisions after the Times revealed that more than 13,000 non-crime hate incidents were recorded in the past year, including complaints against school kids. Isabel Oakeshott.
I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And why has it taken Keir Starmer, 4 days since this scandal emerged about a prominent Telegraph journalist being persecuted? And I don't use that word lightly, you know, officers turning up at a door, rapping on the door on Remembrance Sunday for a tweet that she put out a year ago, which is long forgotten and didn't cause any obvious harm to anybody. Why has it taken Keir Starmer so many days to come out with his leadership on this issue? I mean, all hell was breaking loose at the end of last week. We're now in the middle of Monday, and finally our Prime Minister comes out with an opinion on it. I mean, this isn't bold leadership, is it? It's not clear leadership. And
it's not proactive. His leadership is reactive. And I'll tell you what was interesting. Tom Hunt, former Tory MP for Ipswich, was on the show talking, you'll be interested in this, of an experience of his because he got recorded for a non-crime hate incident as well. Have a watch and have a listen, Isabel.
I must say that I've been the victim of this sort of approach. So I made some comments in a local newspaper about 4 years ago about crime in the town centre, and the local Labour activist recorded me for a non-crime hate incident. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it is utterly ridiculous. You know, we want police to be focused on keeping us safe. We want them to be in the street tackling actual criminals. And, you know, this is a tactic from certain people to try and drag the kind of long arm of the state into legitimate free debate. It's chilling, it's stifling for free speech, and we should stand up to it.
Completely agree, don't you, Isabel?
100%. I mean, as we speak, I've got people trying to get me done for non-crime, whatever it's a non-crime hate incident. I mean, what an absolute waste of time. You know, the police have more than enough to do tackling real crime with real victims, you know, people who have genuinely suffered as a result of violence or awful thefts or muggings, any range of things. There's no bandwidth. There oughtn't to be any bandwidth for this. The provision in law is completely unnecessary. There's already plenty of laws that deal with what it was supposedly designed to tackle. So the serious kind of whipping up of genuine hatred that could result in real harm. Completely unnecessary.
To me, it's really interesting because it seems that in the quest, which I don't disagree with, in the quest to become fairer and more balanced over the years, we've gone so far to the other way that we're now making excuses for the most outrageous behaviour and punishing things that are, I'm going to say trivial and somebody try and cancel me, something that can be taken in the wrong way, something that doesn't and hasn't been said or meant. Look, I get... You know, I said it earlier, the woman who wrote those terrible things about the Muslim community, I would have insisted on 6 months to a year of community service, meeting Muslims, talking to them, understanding the whole situation. No, she was put in prison for 15 months, and naturally everybody jumped up and down because Hugh Edwards walked free and other paedophiles walked free. And it's just like priorities, isn't it? It's just like, where are these countries' priorities? Let's bring it on to the next story, which I know you'll have an opinion on. Nigel Farage confirming today that the Reform UK party is going to mount a private prosecution against two men involved in that brawl with police at Manchester Airport. We know the story well by now, Isabel. Firstly, we see a police officer kicking an assailant in the head. He is rightfully suspended and is under investigation. But 5 months later, having seen other footage, which was released the day after, of these two suspects quite literally beating the living daylights out of policemen and breaking the nose of a female policewoman by stamping on her face on the ground, nothing has been done about them at all, in any which way. Is Farage right to... I'm going to ask a very straight question. Is he right to mount a private prosecution, or could it be perceived as point scoring, rather a legitimate chance to move things forward? I'm just asking.
Well, it's not that at all. I think that the vast majority of people are quite shocked, truly, profoundly shocked that nothing has been done to bring to justice these thugs that attack the policemen. We can see them doing that, and there's no issue with us saying that because no charges have been brought. So
why? Why do you think that is the case? Why has nothing been done, Isabel?
Well, I think that there's an anxiety on the part of the authorities. They're tiptoeing around because these people are from a particular demographic, and I can't see any other justification for not doing anything. So it's quite right that the Reform leadership has done this. They were going to crowdfund for it, and in fact, an awful lot of people were very keen to give money. It turns out that actually there's so much enthusiasm for supporting this that Reform already has enough donations to run the prosecution, and I think it'll be a fascinating case. The authorities now have to, by law, hand over to Reform's legal team all the evidence and the witness statements and so on. It's a very unusual thing for any political party to do, but I think it's really overwhelmingly in the public interest, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.